Most people don't struggle because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity. They struggle because their mind collapses the moment life applies pressure. One bad day becomes a bad week. One setback becomes a reason to quit. One uncomfortable feeling becomes an excuse to stop showing up. That isn't a character flaw, it's an untrained mind. I want to tell you about someone close to me. A close friend I've known for years, smart, capable, full of potential. From the outside, everything looked fine. But privately, his thoughts were always loud. Self-doubt, overthinking, emotional swings, and a constant cycle of starting strong and burning out fast. He didn't lack motivation. He lacked mental strength. There was a moment when things quietly shifted. Not a dramatic breakdown, not a motivational speech, just exhaustion. He was tired of feeling fragile, tired of being controlled by his moods, tired of knowing what to do, yet failing to do it when it mattered. Instead of chasing motivation, he made a different decision. He began training his mind, not through hype, not through positive quotes, but through books and audiobooks focused on discipline, emotional control, resilience, and self-mastery. He didn't read dozens. He chose a few and stayed with them. He listened while walking, while driving, while sitting alone in silence. The same ideas, repeated until they stopped being information and started becoming instinct. Slowly, something changed. He didn't become louder or more aggressive. He became calmer, harder to shake, more consistent. When things felt uncomfortable, he stayed. When emotions surged, he paused. When progress felt invisible, he continued anyway. That's when I understood something important. Mental strength isn't about being fearless. It's about being stable when fear shows up. This video is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming harder to break. Life doesn't get easier. Pressure doesn't disappear. People don't suddenly treat you better. What changes is your ability to hold yourself together when everything around you tries to pull you apart. In the next chapters, we'll walk through the core lessons found in books that build unbreakable mental strength. Not theory, not fluff. Real principles that have been tested through real experience. You'll hear how these ideas were applied, what failed at first, what stuck, and how you can apply the same principles in your own life, starting exactly where you are. You don't need to fix everything at once. You don't need to feel confident before you begin. You just need to start training your mind the same way you train your body. One rep at a time, one day at a time, until strength becomes your default, not your exception. Mental strength grows quietly. No applause, no instant results, just small internal victories stacking on top of each other. Moments where you don't quit, moments where you stay present, moments where you choose discipline over comfort. Over time, those moments change how you see yourself, and that changes how you show up in every area of life. This is where real confidence is built, slowly, patiently, and without shortcuts, through consistent effort, self-honesty, daily personal responsibility over time, without excuses. This strength is earned daily. If you know someone who feels overwhelmed, stuck, or mentally exhausted right now, share this video with them. It might be exactly what they need to start rebuilding their life from the inside out. Chapter 1. Mental strength starts when you stop lying to yourself. Mental strength does not begin with confidence, motivation, or discipline. It begins with something far less comfortable: honesty. Not the kind of honesty you show to other people, but the kind you practice in silence, when there is no reward for telling the truth and no consequence for lying, except the slow erosion of your own strength. Most people don't struggle because life is unfair. They struggle because they protect their ego instead of confronting reality. For a long time, my friend believed he understood himself. He could explain his problems clearly. He had reasons for why things never seemed to work out. Work was stressful. The timing was bad. He wasn't in the right headspace. Other people drained his energy. None of these statements were entirely false. But they all shared one thing in common. They removed responsibility from his hands. And without responsibility, mental strength cannot exist. One of the earliest ideas he encountered in the books he listened to was simple, almost blunt. You cannot strengthen a mind you refuse to see clearly. Mental weakness survives in vagueness. It hides inside soft language and half-truths. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I'm burned out. These phrases feel honest, but often they are just placeholders that prevent deeper inspection. When left unchallenged, they become comfortable lies. Mental strength begins when language becomes precise. I'm tired turns into, I stayed up late avoiding discomfort. I'm overwhelmed becomes, I haven't built structure or priorities. I'm burned out becomes, I relied on motivation instead of discipline. Precision is uncomfortable, but it is powerful. It removes confusion and replaces it with clarity, and clarity is the foundation of strength. At first, this kind of honesty felt harsh to my friend. It stripped away excuses he had leaned on for years. It exposed patterns he would rather not see. He realized how often he avoided tasks that risked failure, how quickly he labeled discomfort as exhaustion, how easily he convinced himself that rest was necessary when it was really resistance. But something unexpected happened alongside that discomfort. He stopped feeling helpless. When you lie to yourself, problems feel vague and uncontrollable. When you tell the truth, they become specific. And specific problems can be worked on. Responsibility replaces confusion. Clarity replaces frustration. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you stop fighting imaginary enemies and start dealing with real ones. The books emphasized a critical distinction that most people miss. Mental strength is not positive thinking. It is accurate thinking. Optimism built on denial is fragile. It collapses under pressure. But honesty, even when uncomfortable, creates stability. When you clearly see what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're avoiding effort, you gain leverage over your behavior. You stop being a victim of your own habits. My friend adopted a small but powerful practice. Every evening, he asked himself 3 questions. What did I avoid today? What explanation did I give myself for avoiding it? And what is the honest reason? There was no judgment, no self-punishment, no dramatic self-talk, just observation. Over time, patterns became impossible to ignore. He avoided tasks that exposed incompetence. He avoided conversations that risked conflict. He avoided silence because it forced him to face his thoughts. This awareness did not instantly fix anything, but it weakened the grip these behaviors had over him. Mental strength doesn't appear suddenly. It grows when unconscious habits are dragged into the light. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Many people believe mental strength is about pushing harder, forcing willpower, or becoming more aggressive with themselves. In reality, it often begins with removing self-deception. You cannot outwork dishonesty. You cannot discipline lies. You can only outgrow them. Every time you lie to yourself, you reinforce weakness. Every time you tell the truth, even quietly, you build strength. Another important lesson stood out. Public honesty is not the same as private honesty. Many people talk openly about their struggles. They share vulnerability. They explain their pain, but they never confront themselves. True honesty happens when no one is watching, when there is no sympathy to gain and no validation to receive. It happens in moments of choice, not moments of confession. As my friend practiced this deeper honesty, his emotional life changed. He stopped dramatizing feelings. He stopped labeling boredom as exhaustion. He stopped mistaking anxiety for danger. Discomfort lost its power to dictate his actions. Life became simpler, though not easier. The fog lifted, And with clarity came choice. You cannot choose discipline if you refuse to admit you're being undisciplined. You cannot choose calm if you won't admit you're reactive. You cannot build strength on top of denial. This is why so many people consume endless motivation and still feel stuck. Motivation skips the truth. Mental strength is built by facing it directly. If you want to apply this principle, start small. Today, notice one moment of resistance. Don't fix it. Don't judge it. Just name it honestly. That single act is a form of training. Mental strength grows when truth becomes a habit rather than an event. This chapter is not about harsh self-criticism. It's about respect. Respect for reality. Respect for your own potential. When you stop lying to yourself, you stop fighting shadows. And when the fight becomes real, strength finally has something solid to grow against. Chapter 2. Books don't change you. Repetition does one of the most common mistakes people make on the path to self-improvement is confusing consumption with change. They read many books, listen to countless audiobooks, save quotes, highlight passages, and feel productive. Yet months later, their behavior looks almost identical. Same reactions, same habits, same excuses. The problem is not a lack of intelligence or effort. The problem is believing that reading alone is enough. Information does not create mental strength. Repetition does. Most people treat books like motivation shots. They read until they feel inspired, then move on. When that inspiration fades, they search for the next book, the next idea, the next voice that makes them feel capable again. This creates the illusion of progress without the substance of change. The mind enjoys novelty, but novelty trains curiosity, not strength. My friend fell into this trap early. When he first discovered audiobooks about discipline, resilience, and emotional control, he became obsessed. He jumped from title to title, convinced that more knowledge would eventually fix him. Each audiobook gave him temporary clarity. For a short time, he felt sharper, calmer, more in control. Then pressure returned. Stress showed up, old habits resurfaced, and the cycle repeated. At some point, frustration replaced excitement. He wasn't ignorant. He wasn't lazy. He was informed, yet unchanged. That's when one idea finally landed with weight. The mind does not change through understanding. It changes through repetition. Mental strength is not intellectual. It is neurological. The books explain this clearly. Every thought you repeat strengthens a neural pathway. Every reaction you practice becomes faster and more automatic. Weakness is not a personality trait. It is a pattern reinforced over time. Strength is the same. It is the result of repeated exposure to the same standards, the same principles, the same responses, until they become default. That understanding changed how my friend approached books completely. He stopped trying to read everything. He stopped chasing novelty. Instead, he chose just 1 or 2 audiobooks focused on mental discipline and resilience, and he committed to them fully. He listened while walking, while training, while doing mundane tasks. He listened on days he felt motivated and on days he felt resistant. He listened when the ideas felt obvious and when they felt uncomfortable. He didn't search for new insights. He let the same ones sink deeper. At first, this felt boring. His mind resisted repetition. It wanted stimulation, not structure. But boredom revealed something important. His mind had been trained to seek excitement, not endurance. Repetition removed entertainment and left only truth. And truth, repeated enough times, begins to shape behavior. Slowly, the ideas stopped feeling external. They stopped sounding like advice and started sounding like reminders. In moments of stress, principles surfaced automatically. When he felt the urge to quit, familiar words slowed him down. When emotions rose, practiced ideas created space between feeling and action. The audiobook was no longer something he listened to. It became something that lived inside his thinking. This is what mental strength actually looks like. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is the quiet ability to respond differently under pressure because the brain has been trained to do so. Neural repetition creates mental endurance the same way physical repetition creates muscle. Most people unknowingly train their minds every day. They repeat their worries. They repeat distractions. They repeat emotional reactions. Then they wonder why stress overwhelms them so easily. Repetition always works. The question is whether it is building strength or reinforcing weakness. My friend realized that his previous struggles were not caused by a lack of willpower. They were caused by years of repeating avoidance and emotional escape. Rebuilding mental strength required deliberate retraining, not motivation, not intensity, consistency. The books emphasized a simple but uncomfortable truth. Discipline is not something you force in moments of crisis. It is something you build quietly through repeated alignment between thought and action. When the same principles are reinforced daily, standards change. What once felt optional begins to feel necessary. What once felt difficult becomes normal. He noticed the shift in small moments, getting out of bed without internal negotiation, finishing tasks without waiting for the right mood, staying present when discomfort appeared instead of escaping it. None of these moments were impressive, but together they reshaped his identity. And identity drives behavior. Most people think they need more books. In reality, they need fewer ideas practiced more deeply. Mental strength is not complicated, but it requires patience. Repetition without immediate reward feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the training itself. Here is a simple exercise you can apply starting today. 1 book, 1 principle, 30 days. Choose a single audiobook or idea focused on mental strength. Identify 1 principle from it. Then repeat it daily. Listen to it. Reflect on it. Act on it. Not until you feel better, but until it changes how you respond automatically. Books don't change you. Repetition does. Chapter 3. Discomfort is the training ground. Mental weakness is not loud. It doesn't announce itself as fear or failure. Most of the time, it shows up quietly as a preference for comfort. Comfort in routine. Comfort in avoidance. Comfort in waiting for the right mood, the right energy, the right moment. A weak mind is not incapable. It is simply conditioned to escape discomfort as quickly as possible. The books my friend listened to repeated this idea relentlessly. Mental strength is built where comfort ends, not once, not occasionally, but daily. Strength is not something you access when life becomes easy. It is something you develop by staying present when life becomes uncomfortable. Before this shift, my friend believed motivation came first. He waited to feel ready. He waited for energy. He waited for the internal signal that said, now is the time. When that signal didn't come, he assumed something was wrong. He labeled it burnout. He labeled it exhaustion. In reality, it was resistance, and resistance thrives in comfort. One line from a book hit him harder than expected. Comfort kills resilience. At first, it sounded extreme. Comfort felt harmless, necessary even. But as he reflected, he realized how often comfort had shaped his decisions. He worked when he felt good. He rested when things felt heavy. He avoided tasks that created uncertainty or discomfort. Over time, this pattern trained his mind to associate discomfort with danger. Mental strength requires the opposite association. Discomfort must become familiar, not enjoyable, but tolerable, neutral, expected. He started small, very small. He stopped waiting for motivation. He worked when he didn't feel like it. Not for hours, sometimes just for 10 minutes. The goal was not productivity. It was exposure. Exposure to the feeling of resistance without obeying it. The books explain that motivation is unreliable because it is emotional. Discipline is reliable because it is behavioral. Mental strength grows when behavior is no longer dependent on mood. Waiting for the right mood trains weakness. Acting without it trains resilience. At first, the discomfort felt intense. Sitting down to work without motivation triggered restlessness. His mind searched for distraction. His body felt heavy. Everything inside him suggested stopping, but something important happened when he didn't. The discomfort peaked, then faded. Not because the task became easier, but because his tolerance increased. That was the lesson. Discomfort is not permanent. Avoidance is. When you escape discomfort, you strengthen it. When you stay with it, you weaken its grip. Over time, my friend noticed a change. The same tasks that once felt unbearable began to feel manageable. Not pleasant, but doable. His emotional reactions softened. Resistance lost its authority. He no longer needed to feel good to act. Acting became the trigger for feeling capable, not the other way around. The books framed discomfort as a training ground, not a punishment. Just like muscles grow through controlled stress, the mind grows through voluntary discomfort. Not chaos, not suffering. Intentional, chosen difficulty. This idea shifted how he approached daily life. He began choosing discomfort on purpose. Cold showers, walking instead of scrolling, silence instead of noise, difficult conversations instead of avoidance. These choices were small, but they rewired his relationship with discomfort. He stopped treating it as an emergency. Mental weakness seeks comfort automatically. Mental strength chooses discomfort deliberately. The key was consistency. He didn't aim for extreme challenges. He aimed for daily exposure. One uncomfortable task per day. One moment of resistance faced, not avoided. This steady approach built endurance without burnout. The books warned against dramatic changes. Sudden intensity often collapses. Small, repeated discomfort builds capacity. Resilience grows through accumulation, not heroics. For the viewer, this principle is simple but demanding. Choose voluntary discomfort, not because you hate yourself, but because you respect your potential. Do one difficult thing each day, something small, something you've been avoiding. Finish it without negotiating with your emotions. This could mean starting work without motivation, having an honest conversation, sitting with boredom instead of escaping it, doing the task you keep postponing. The goal is not perfection, it is exposure. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that training has begun. Most people wait for life to force discomfort upon them. When it arrives, they break. Strong minds train for it ahead of time, quietly, daily, on their own terms. Over time, my friend became harder to shake. Stress still appeared. Pressure still existed, but it no longer dictated his actions. Discomfort lost its power because it had become familiar. This is how resilience is built, not by avoiding pain, but by learning to stand inside it without collapsing. Comfort feels safe in the moment, but comfort weakens the mind. Discomfort, chosen deliberately, builds strength that lasts. Mental strength is not found in ease, it is forged in resistance. Chapter 4. Emotional control is real power. In life, there are few things more powerful than the ability to control your emotions. The difference between a person who thrives under pressure and one who falters often comes down to emotional control. It's not about suppressing feelings, as many mistakenly believe. True strength lies in controlling your response to emotions, not in denying them. For most of his life, my friend reacted impulsively. Whether it was a harsh comment from a colleague or an unexpected challenge at work, His emotional response was immediate and intense. He would snap, get defensive, or shut down. His reactions were driven by emotions, anger, frustration, insecurity, without any pause or space to choose a better response. His emotions dictated his actions, and it left him feeling out of control and often regretful. The books he listened to began to challenge this automatic response. Emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It is about mastering your response to them. This concept was a game changer. It wasn't about denying or ignoring emotions. It was about creating space between feeling and action. In the beginning, my friend struggled with the idea of pausing. He was used to reacting. In his world, emotions were always on the surface, always demanding immediate attention. But as he continued to listen to the books, he began to understand the core principle: there is power in the pause. The more he practiced pausing, the less he allowed his emotions to control him. It wasn't always easy, but it was always effective. One of the key lessons from the books was this: there is a space between feeling and action. The more you practice creating that space, the more control you have over your emotions. This is where true emotional control starts. Instead of acting on impulse, he learned to take a step back. He began to practice what the books called the 5-second pause. The 5-second pause became a game-changing habit. Whenever he felt a surge of emotion, he would count to 5. It was a simple technique, but it was incredibly powerful. That pause gave him the time to observe his feelings, acknowledge them, and choose a response instead of reacting blindly. Over time, it became automatic. Whenever he felt anger or frustration rising, he would pause and think. What was the most productive way to respond? What was the right action, not the impulsive one? This habit of pausing allowed him to step out of the emotional whirlwind and see things more clearly. It gave him space to understand his feelings without being controlled by them, and that clarity allowed him to make better decisions, communicate more effectively, and feel more in control of his life. The books also introduced the idea of naming emotions as a form of emotional control. The simple act of labeling your emotions: I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling overwhelmed, can create a sense of distance from the emotion itself. It separates the feeling from your identity. Instead of thinking, I am angry, you begin to think, I am feeling anger. This small shift helps you recognize that your emotions do not define you. They are just signals, not commands. Through practice, my friend began to develop a deeper awareness of his emotional responses. He started naming his emotions in real time, and by doing so, he created a powerful buffer between feeling and action. This buffer allowed him to choose a response rather than act impulsively. The books emphasized that emotional control is not about suppressing or denying your emotions, but about mastering them. Emotional control is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to choose how you respond to those emotions. When you master your emotions, you master your life. One of the most powerful exercises my friend learned was the 5-second pause combined with naming emotions. It was a simple practice, but it was transformative. Whenever he felt an emotional trigger, whether it was anger, stress, or disappointment, he would pause for 5 seconds, name the emotion, and then choose his response. This habit didn't just help him avoid reacting impulsively. It helped him become more self-aware, more intentional, and ultimately more in control. Emotional control is about leading yourself in the face of powerful emotions. It's about refusing to let your feelings dictate your actions. In the past, my friend would allow his emotions to control him, but now he controls his emotions. He leads himself through the discomfort, through the frustration, through the anger. And the result is a sense of inner peace and confidence that wasn't there before. The next time you feel overwhelmed by emotions, remember the power of the pause. Take 5 seconds. Name the emotion, and choose your response. This practice is the key to emotional control. It is the difference between reacting and responding, and it is the foundation of real power. Practical exercise. Pause for 5 seconds whenever you feel an emotional surge. Name the emotion you're experiencing. Choose a response that aligns with your values and goals. This simple exercise will give you the space to act thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It will help you become more emotionally resilient, more in control, and more aligned with the person you want to be. Remember, emotional control is not about denying your feelings. It's about mastering your responses. And with that mastery comes true power. Chapter 5. Discipline. When no one is watching. There is a version of discipline most people are familiar with, and another version that quietly determines who they become. The visible version shows up when deadlines are close, when expectations are clear, and when someone else is paying attention. The invisible version shows up in silence. Early mornings, empty rooms, unfinished days, moments when quitting would cost nothing because no one would ever know. That second version is where mental strength is actually built. For a long time, my friend believed he was disciplined. He could perform under pressure. When a deadline approached or someone depended on him, he delivered. But when structure disappeared, so did his consistency. On days without urgency, he delayed. Without accountability, he negotiated with himself. At first, he didn't see this as a problem. He assumed this was normal. In reality, it revealed something deeper. His discipline depended on external force. The books he listened to challenged this assumption directly. True discipline, they said, is not reactive. It does not rely on pressure, motivation, or visibility. Real discipline is self-governed. It is the ability to act according to your standards even when there is no consequence for stopping, especially when there is no consequence. This idea was uncomfortable. It stripped away the excuse that circumstances were responsible for inconsistency. It revealed that discipline was not a personality trait, but a habit built through private choices. Mental strength was not proven when things were hard and visible, but when effort felt unnecessary and unseen. My friend began paying attention to what he did when no one was watching, not in dramatic moments, but in ordinary ones. Did he follow through on small plans? Did he stop early because he felt tired? Did he delay tasks simply because he could? These moments exposed the truth more clearly than any high-pressure situation ever had. The books framed discipline as integrity. Integrity between intention and action. When no one is watching, integrity is tested. This is where identity is formed. Not in public effort, but in private consistency. At first, he resisted this idea. Acting without recognition felt pointless. His mind asked questions it had never confronted honestly. Why try if no one sees it? Why push when there is no reward? Those questions revealed how deeply validation had shaped his motivation. He had been disciplined for approval, not for self-respect. He made a quiet shift. He stopped asking how he felt and started asking what he had decided. Feelings became information, not commands. Decisions became binding. This change was subtle, but it rewired his behavior. He no longer waited to feel motivated. He acted because he had committed. He started with small, private commitments. Nothing impressive. A daily walk, a short work session, a few minutes of reflection. The difficulty was not the task itself. The difficulty was doing it when no one was tracking progress, and no one would be disappointed if he skipped. That was the training. At first, his mind resisted. It searched for justification. It created fatigue. It offered rational reasons to stop early. But each time he followed through anyway. Something changed. His self-trust increased. He began to see himself differently. Not as someone who tries when conditions are perfect, but as someone who keeps promises quietly. Mental strength grows through these invisible repetitions. Every time you do what you said you would do without being watched, you strengthen internal authority. You teach your mind that your word matters. Over time, this internal authority replaces the need for motivation. You no longer need to convince yourself. You simply act. The books warned about performative discipline, posting progress, announcing plans, seeking accountability before building self-accountability. None of these are wrong, but they are incomplete. When discipline depends on visibility, it becomes fragile. Remove the audience, and the behavior collapses. My friend noticed that once his private discipline stabilized, public confidence followed naturally. He no longer needed pressure to perform. He felt grounded, calm, reliable. Stress still existed, but it no longer controlled him. He had learned to regulate himself from the inside. This is the paradox most people miss. Discipline practiced in silence creates strength that shows everywhere. Discipline practiced for attention collapses when attention disappears. Another lesson from the book stood out clearly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. Standards are built privately. They are reinforced every time you choose effort over ease when no one is watching. Over time, my friend stopped negotiating with himself. Negotiation is a sign of weak standards. Strong standards remove debate. The decision has already been made. Action follows automatically. That automation is mental strength. For the viewer, the application is simple but demanding. Choose one action each day that no one else will ever notice. Something small, something boring, something you would normally skip without guilt. Commit to it privately. Do it even when you feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. Especially then. Do not talk about it. Do not post it. Let it shape you silently. This is not about punishment or perfection. It is about self-respect. You build mental strength by becoming someone you can rely on when no one is watching. Over time, that reliability becomes your foundation. Confidence grows without noise. Discipline becomes natural, and pressure loses its power. Mental strength is not loud. It does not need recognition. It is built quietly, one private decision at a time. And that quiet strength is what holds when everything else falls away. Chapter 6. Identity is built by small promises. Most people think identity is something you discover. In reality, identity is something you train. It is shaped slowly, quietly, through the smallest decisions you repeat every day. Mental strength is not built by big goals or dramatic changes. It is built by the promises you make to yourself when no one is listening, and whether you keep them. For a long time, my friend struggled with confidence, even though he appeared capable on the outside. He didn't understand why he felt unstable internally. He could plan, he could dream, he could talk about change convincingly. But when it came time to act consistently, something always broke down. Over time, he began to doubt himself, not consciously, but deeply. He stopped trusting his own intentions. The books he listened to exposed a painful truth. Self-trust is not a personality trait. It is earned. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you deposit trust. Every time you break one, you withdraw it. Eventually, the account runs empty. When that happens, discipline feels impossible because the mind no longer believes you. This explained everything. My friend hadn't lost motivation. He had lost credibility with himself. For years, he had made promises driven by emotion. Tomorrow I'll start. Next week I'll be consistent. This time will be different. These promises felt good at the moment, but they were rarely kept. Each broken promise was small, harmless on its own, but together they taught his mind a dangerous lesson. Your words don't matter. The books were clear. Mental strength begins when your word becomes reliable again. Not in public, in private. Identity is built from evidence, not intention. The mind believes what you do repeatedly, not what you say you will do. So he changed his strategy. He stopped making ambitious promises. No more dramatic plans. No more emotional commitments. Instead, he focused on small, controllable actions. Actions so simple that excuses sounded ridiculous. Wake up at a fixed time. Walk for 10 minutes. Complete one task fully. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Write 1 page. The size of the promise didn't matter. What mattered was that he kept it. At first, this felt unimpressive. His ego wanted transformation, not maintenance. He wanted to feel powerful, not disciplined. But the books warned against this trap. People chase intensity because it feels like progress. Strength is built through reliability. The first few weeks were uncomfortable in a different way. There was no rush, no visible result, no emotional reward, just repetition. But something subtle began to change. Each time he followed through, even when he didn't feel like it, a quiet sense of alignment appeared. He felt grounded, stable, not excited but solid. That solidity mattered more than motivation ever had. The books explained that identity-based discipline removes internal negotiation. When you don't trust yourself, every task becomes a debate. Should I do this now? Can I skip today? Do I really need to follow through? This constant negotiation drains energy. It creates friction before action even begins. As my friend kept small promises consistently, that negotiation faded. The decision had already been made. Action followed automatically. Mental energy was freed up. Discipline stopped feeling heavy. Another lesson stood out sharply. Big promises are fragile. Small promises are durable. When you overpromise, failure is likely. Failure reinforces weakness. When you underpromise and overdeliver, success compounds. Confidence grows quietly. This is why mental strength does not begin with ambition. It begins with restraint. The ability to commit only to what you will honor, regardless of mood, fatigue, or distraction. My friend became ruthless about this. If he wasn't willing to keep a promise on his worst day, he didn't make it. No more optimistic planning, no more emotional commitments, only grounded decisions. Over time, this approach rebuilt his self-trust. He no longer needed external pressure to act. He no longer relied on motivation. His behavior was driven by identity. He saw himself as someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone whose word mattered. That identity changed everything else. Stress became manageable. Challenges felt less threatening. Not because life became easier, but because he trusted himself to respond. The books emphasized something most people ignore. Every broken promise weakens future discipline, not because you are lazy, but because the mind learns patterns. If quitting is repeated, quitting becomes automatic. Resistance grows stronger. Starting feels heavier. Discipline feels exhausting. Keeping promises reverses that process. Each completed commitment makes the next one easier, not physically, but psychologically. The mind stops resisting because it expects follow-through. Mental strength is not about forcing yourself. It is about becoming someone who does not need to be forced. For the viewer, the application is simple, but uncomfortable. Stop making promises that impress you. Start making promises you can keep. Choose one small commitment per day. Something boring, something private, something no one will ever praise you for. Then keep it no matter how you feel. Do not increase the size until consistency is effortless. Let evidence build. Let identity shift naturally. Over time, those small kept promises accumulate. Self-trust returns. Discipline stabilizes. Mental strength stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like who you are. This is how unbreakable minds are built. Not through dramatic change, but through small promises kept day after day until your word becomes law inside your own mind. Chapter 7. Silence, Focus, and Mental Endurance. One of the most underestimated sources of mental weakness is noise. Not just physical noise, but mental noise, constant input, constant stimulation, constant reaction. Most people are not mentally weak because life is too demanding. They are weak because their attention is never allowed to rest, narrow, or deepen. A scattered mind cannot be a strong mind. My friend did not realize this at first. He believed his stress came from responsibility, from work, from pressure. But the books he listened to kept pointing toward a different cause. Mental exhaustion is often the result of unprotected attention. When the mind is constantly pulled in different directions, endurance collapses. He began to notice how rarely he was truly focused. Even during quiet moments, his mind was busy. Notifications, background noise, podcasts playing endlessly. Music fills every gap. Silence felt uncomfortable. When there was nothing to consume, his thoughts rushed in, and he quickly reached for distraction. That habit had trained his mind to avoid stillness. The books made a clear claim. Focus is not found, it is protected. Mental endurance grows when attention is trained to stay with one thing without escape. Silence is not emptiness. It is resistance training for the mind. At first, this idea felt unrealistic. Silence seemed inefficient. Focus felt restrictive. But my friend began to experiment. He reduced noise deliberately. No background audio during simple tasks, no phone during walks, no constant input during rest. The first few days were uncomfortable. His mind felt restless. Boredom appeared quickly. Anxiety surfaced without distraction to hide behind. This discomfort revealed how dependent his mind had become on stimulation. Weakness often hides inside habits that feel normal. Silence exposed it. The books explained that mental endurance is built the same way physical endurance is built, through sustained effort without relief. Not extreme effort, but steady presence. When the mind learns it does not need constant stimulation to survive, it becomes stronger. My friend started with small periods of silence, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sitting without input, walking without headphones, working on a single task without switching. These moments felt longer than they were. His mind resisted. It searched for escape, but each time he stayed, the resistance softened. Over time, something shifted. His thoughts slowed. His reactions became less immediate. He noticed emotions without being pulled into them. Silence created space, and in that space, control grew. Focus followed naturally. Without constant noise, attention sharpened. Tasks that once felt overwhelming became manageable because they were approached one at a time. The books emphasized this repeatedly. A strong mind does not juggle everything. It commits fully to what is in front of it. Mental endurance is not about doing more. It is about staying present longer. Most people break mentally not because the task is too hard, but because they abandon focus too quickly. They escape discomfort through distraction. Each escape reinforces weakness. My friend noticed how often he used distraction to avoid difficulty. When work became challenging, he checked his phone. When thoughts felt heavy, he sought entertainment. These habits fragmented his attention. Fragmented attention created fatigue. Fatigue felt like weakness. Silence reversed that process. It forced him to sit with discomfort without escaping it. Over time, discomfort lost its intensity. The mind adapted. What once felt unbearable became neutral. This adaptation is mental endurance. The books warned against confusing calm with numbness. Silence does not suppress thought, it organizes it. Without constant input, the mind processes instead of reacting. Clarity replaces overwhelm. Focus became his new discipline. He stopped multitasking. He set clear boundaries around attention. One task, one block of time, no switching. At first, this felt slow, but the quality of effort increased. Energy was conserved. Mental strain decreased. Mental endurance is not loud. It does not announce itself. It shows up as the ability to stay with a task when others give up, to remain calm when others react, to think clearly when others feel overwhelmed. My friend noticed this most clearly under pressure. Situations that once triggered stress no longer felt urgent. He had trained his mind to remain steady in silence. Noise no longer controlled him. The books made one final point that stayed with him. Silence is where you meet yourself. Many people avoid it because they are uncomfortable with their own thoughts, but avoiding silence avoids growth. Mental strength requires familiarity with your inner world. For the viewer, the application is simple but challenging. Create daily silence, not as relaxation, but as training. 5 minutes without input, 10 minutes without distraction. Protect one block of focused work each day. No multitasking, no escape. Do not aim for perfection, aim for consistency. Let discomfort appear. Stay anyway. That staying is the training. Over time, your mind will become quieter. Focus will deepen. Endurance will grow. You will find yourself less reactive, more present, and harder to overwhelm. Mental strength does not come from noise, speed, or constant movement. It comes from stillness, focus, and the ability to remain present when the urge to escape appears. Silence builds strength. Focus sharpens it. Endurance proves it. This is how the mind becomes unshakable. Chapter 8. Unbreakable minds are built, not discovered. Most people spend their lives searching for strength as if it is something hidden inside them, waiting to be unlocked. They assume mental toughness is a personality trait, a genetic gift, or the result of a dramatic life event. When they feel weak, they conclude that something is missing in them. The books my friend listened to dismantled that belief completely. Mental strength is not discovered. It is built, slowly, intentionally, through repetition. For a long time, my friend believed he was simply not wired to be mentally strong. He compared himself to others who seemed calm under pressure, consistent in their habits, and emotionally steady. He assumed they had something he didn't. That belief became a quiet excuse. If strength was something you were born with, then struggling made sense. Responsibility disappeared. But the books told a different story. Every strong mind is the result of training. Every unbreakable person is someone who has repeatedly chosen discipline over comfort, clarity over emotion, and action over excuse. Strength is not an identity you inherit. It is a system you maintain. Looking back, my friend realized there was no single moment where he became mentally strong. There was no breakthrough, no transformation story. There were only decisions, hundreds of small ones. Choosing honesty over denial, repetition over novelty, discomfort over comfort, control over reaction, silence over noise. Small promises kept instead of grand promises broken. None of these choices felt heroic. Most felt boring. Some felt uncomfortable. Many felt unnecessary in the moment. But together, they rewired how he responded to life. Pressure no longer felt like a threat. Stress became information, not an enemy. Difficulty stopped meaning danger and started meaning growth. The books emphasized something crucial. Mental strength is not the absence of struggle. Strong people still feel fear, doubt, frustration, and resistance. The difference is not what they feel. It is what they do next. They do not let feelings dictate behavior. They allow feelings to exist without giving them authority. This is why unbreakable minds appear calm. Not because they feel less, but because they are trained. They have practiced staying present when discomfort appears. They have built familiarity with resistance. They have proven to themselves repeatedly that they can endure. My friend noticed this most clearly during setbacks. Before, failure would spiral into self-criticism and avoidance. Now, it became feedback, information, something to adjust, not something to collapse under. That shift alone changed how he moved through life. The books framed mental strength as a long-term agreement with yourself. An agreement to stop outsourcing control to emotion, environment, or circumstance. An agreement to act according to principle, not impulse. That agreement is renewed daily through behavior, not thought. This is why shortcuts don't work. You cannot think your way into mental strength. You must act your way into it, and action must be repeated long after motivation disappears. Many people want confidence before they act. Mental strength reverses that order. Action comes first. Confidence follows later, sometimes much later. Waiting to feel ready trains weakness. Acting without readiness trains resilience. My friend stopped asking whether he felt strong. He focused on acting strong, showing up when he didn't feel like it, pausing instead of reacting, choosing silence instead of distraction. Over time, those actions reshaped how he saw himself. Identity followed behavior. The books warned against one final trap. Once progress appears, comfort tries to return. The mind says, "You've done enough. You can relax now." This is where many people lose strength. They treat training as a phase instead of a lifestyle. Mental strength decays when maintenance stops. Unbreakable minds are maintained, not achieved. They require ongoing practice. Not intensity, but consistency. The same principles applied repeatedly, even when life feels stable. My friend accepted this. He stopped chasing an endpoint. He stopped measuring himself against others. He focused on alignment. Each day, he asked one simple question. Did my actions today reinforce strength or weaken it? That question guided decisions without drama. This chapter is not meant to inspire you. It is meant to ground you. Strength is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is quiet. It is often invisible, but it is reliable. For the viewer, the message is clear. You are not broken. You are untrained. And training is available to anyone willing to commit to it. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but consistently. You do not need to change your life overnight. You need to change how you respond, one moment at a time. You need to build systems that make strength inevitable. Systems that favor discipline over emotion, clarity over chaos, action over intention. Mental strength does not announce itself. It shows up when life applies pressure and you do not fold. When discomfort appears and you stay. When emotion rises and you pause. When no one is watching and you still act. That is what Unbreakable looks like. It is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is calm, grounded, and reliable. Built over time by ordinary choices made consistently. Unbreakable minds are not discovered. They are built. And once built, they carry you through everything that follows. As we come to the end of this audiobook, take a quiet moment to sit with what you've just heard. Not as a listener, but as someone standing at the edge of a choice. This journey was never about becoming fearless, perfect, or endlessly motivated. It was about becoming steady, about building a mind that can hold itself together when pressure, uncertainty, and discomfort inevitably appear. Throughout this audiobook, one message stayed consistent. Mental strength is not something you are born with, and it is not something you suddenly discover one day. It begins with honesty, because without seeing yourself clearly, nothing truly changes. It grows through repetition, because a single insight can never override years of habit. It is forged in discomfort, because comfort trains avoidance, while difficulty trains resilience. And it is sustained through discipline, practiced quietly, especially when no one is watching. You explored the difference between suppressing emotions and controlling them. You learned that real power lives in the space between feeling and action. You saw how discipline without an audience builds a deeper kind of confidence. You discovered that identity is shaped by small promises kept, not big promises announced. You learned why silence and focus are not luxuries, but essential tools for mental endurance in a world that constantly pulls at your attention. And finally, you were reminded of a simple truth. Unbreakable minds are built, not discovered. None of these ideas require talent, status, or perfect circumstances. They are meant for ordinary lives, lived under real pressure. What matters is not how inspired you feel right now, but what you do when inspiration fades. Mental strength is built quietly, in moments most people overlook, when choosing the harder response feels inconvenient and unrewarded. You don't need to apply everything at once. In fact, trying to do too much too quickly often leads to burnout. Instead, choose one principle from this audiobook. Just one. Practice it daily. Maybe it's pausing before you react. Maybe it's finishing one task without distraction. Maybe it's choosing discomfort on purpose for a few minutes each day. Maybe it's keeping one small promise to yourself today. That is enough to begin. Mental strength compounds slowly. You may not feel different tomorrow. You may not feel powerful next week. But every time you act with discipline instead of emotion, every time you stay present instead of escaping, you send a signal to your mind that you can be trusted. And when self-trust grows, confidence becomes calmer, focus becomes sharper, and pressure becomes easier to carry. Think back to the story woven throughout this audiobook. There was no dramatic transformation, no overnight breakthrough, just a decision to stop running from discomfort and start training the mind deliberately. That same decision is available to you right now, exactly where you are. You don't need a new life. You need a new response. As this video ends, the real work begins. Let these ideas move beyond listening and into action. Let them guide how you respond the next time life tests you. That is where mental strength becomes real, not in theory, but in lived experience. Thank you for giving this time to yourself. Thank you for listening with intention, reflecting honestly, and choosing growth over comfort. Your attention matters, and I truly appreciate you being here. If this audiobook brought you value, share it with someone who may need it right now. Someone who feels overwhelmed, stuck, or mentally exhausted. Sometimes the right message at the right moment can help someone begin rebuilding their life from the inside out.